There is a profound theological problem sitting at the very center of Islamic doctrine, one that Muslim scholars have wrestled with for centuries, and one that, when examined carefully, points toward a conclusion that many find surprising. This problem is known as the Islamic Dilemma, and understanding it requires looking closely at what Islam actually teaches about two of the most important books in human history, the Torah and the Gospel. Islam does not simply ignore these texts. In fact, the Quran speaks about them with remarkable reverence. The Quran repeatedly affirms that the Torah, given to Moses, and the Gospel, given to Jesus, were genuine revelations from God. Surah 5, verse 46, states that God sent Jesus confirming the Torah that had come before him and gave him the Gospel, in which was guidance and light. Surah 3 verse 3 says that God sent down the Torah and the Gospel as guidance for mankind. These are not minor references. The Quran is making a foundational claim that these earlier scriptures were divinely revealed and authoritative. This sets the stage for the dilemma, because what Islam says next creates a contradiction that cannot be easily resolved. When Muslim apologists are confronted with the differences between the Bible and the Quran, differences in theology, in the nature of Jesus, in the concept of salvation, in the crucifixion, the standard response is that the Bible has been corrupted. The Arabic term used is tahrif, which refers to the distortion or alteration of Scripture. The argument goes that Jews and Christians changed their holy texts over time, removing prophecies about Muhammad, altering the nature of Jesus, and introducing theological errors. This is why, the argument continues, God had to send Muhammad with a final and uncorrupted revelation. On the surface, this seems like a reasonable explanation, but here is where the dilemma begins to take shape. If the Bible was corrupted, then one of two things must be true. Either the corruption happened before the time of Muhammad in the 7th century, or it happened after. Both of these options create serious problems for Islamic theology, and neither one can be accepted without undermining core Quranic claims. This is not a minor theological footnote. This is a structural problem that strikes at the credibility of the Quran itself, and it deserves careful and honest examination. If the Bible was corrupted before the time of Muhammad, then the Quran's repeated endorsements of the Torah and the Gospel become deeply problematic. The Quran does not merely mention these books in passing, it actively instructs people to consult them. Surah 5, verse 47, commands the people of the Gospel to judge by what God has revealed in it. Surah 10, verse 94, tells Muhammad himself that if he is in doubt about what has been revealed to him, he should ask those who have been reading the scripture before him. Surah 5, verse 68, tells the people of the book that they stand on nothing until they uphold the Torah and the Gospel. These are direct, unambiguous commands from the Quran to trust and follow the Torah and the Gospel. But if those books were already corrupted at the time Muhammad was alive, then God was directing people to corrupted, unreliable, and potentially misleading texts. This would mean that God either did not know the books were corrupted, which contradicts the Islamic doctrine of divine omniscience, or that God knowingly pointed people toward false scripture, which contradicts the Islamic doctrine of divine goodness and justice. Either conclusion is theologically catastrophic for Islam. The second option is that the corruption happened after the time of Muhammad, sometime during or after the 7th century. This option might seem to escape the first problem, but it creates an entirely different and equally serious one. We possess thousands of biblical manuscripts that predate Muhammad. The Dead Sea Scrolls, discovered in 1947, contain portions of the Hebrew Scriptures dating back over 2,000 years, long before Jesus, long before Muhammad. The New Testament manuscripts we have access to today date back to the 2nd and 3rd centuries, centuries before Islam was founded. When scholars compare these ancient manuscripts with modern Bibles, the core theological content is remarkably consistent. The manuscripts from before Muhammad and the manuscripts from after Muhammad tell the same story. Jesus is the Son of God. He is crucified. He rises from the dead. Salvation comes through faith in him. If someone wanted to argue that Christians corrupted the Bible after Muhammad's time, the manuscript evidence makes this position historically indefensible. The texts simply have not changed in the ways the corruption theory requires. The manuscript evidence for the Bible is actually one of the strongest cases for textual reliability in all of ancient literature. There are over 5,000 Greek manuscripts of the New Testament alone, along with thousands more in Latin, Syriac, Coptic, and other languages. Textual scholars like Frederick Kenyon, and more recently, Daniel Wallace, have noted that the New Testament is the best attested document from the ancient world. The variations that exist between manuscripts are overwhelmingly minor. Differences in spelling, word order, and small grammatical variations, none of which affect core theological doctrines. The same is true for the Old Testament. The Dead Sea Scrolls confirmed that the Hebrew Scriptures had been transmitted with extraordinary accuracy over more than 1,000 years. When the Isaiah scroll found at Qumran was compared with the Masoretic text that had been used for centuries, scholars were astonished at how faithfully the text had been preserved. This is not the picture of a corrupted scripture. This is the picture of a carefully guarded and faithfully transmitted body of revelation. The corruption theory, when held up against this evidence, simply does not survive scrutiny. Here is where the implications become significant. If the Bible was not corrupted before Muhammad, then the Quran's endorsements of the Torah and the Gospel are endorsements of the Bible as Christians and Jews have always understood it. And that Bible teaches things that directly contradict Islam. It teaches that Jesus is the divine Son of God. It teaches that he was crucified for the sins of humanity. It teaches that he rose bodily from the dead. It teaches that salvation is not earned through works or religious observance, but received through faith in Jesus Christ. If the Quran is affirming the authority of a Bible that teaches these things, then the Quran is, in effect, affirming the core claims of Christianity. The Islamic Dilemma does not merely create a problem for Islam. It actively redirects the honest seeker toward the Christian scriptures as the reliable and divinely endorsed revelation that even the Quran itself could not stop pointing toward. Christianity does not ask anyone to accept its claims on blind faith. The entire structure of Christian theology rests on a single historical event that is open to investigation: the resurrection of Jesus Christ. The Apostle Paul, writing in the first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 15, verse 17, states plainly that if Christ has not been raised, your faith is futile. Paul understood that Christianity stands or falls on whether Jesus actually rose from the dead, and the historical case for the resurrection is compelling. The tomb was empty. The disciples claimed to have seen the risen Jesus, and they were willing to die for that claim. The conversion of Paul, a former persecutor of Christians, and the conversion of James, the brother of Jesus who had been a skeptic during Jesus' ministry, are both difficult to explain apart from genuine resurrection appearances. Even secular historians like Josephus and Tacitus confirm the basic historical outline: that Jesus was executed under Pontius Pilate, and that his followers continued to proclaim his resurrection. The Islamic Dilemma strips away one of the main objections to taking the Bible seriously, and what remains is a historically grounded, textually reliable, and theologically coherent account of a God who entered human history, died for human sin, and rose again to offer life to all who believe.